everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie and in today's video we're going to be doing a thriller reading vlog where I catch up on a very specific author's backlist. So before I get into the video, please remember to like this video if you enjoy it and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. I primarily read fantasy, thriller and romance books and I post videos every Sunday. So in this video I'm hoping to catch up on Freida McFadden's backlist. I only have maybe 7 of her books left to read and in this one I'm going to be reading 4 of them. So I'm going to be reading The Surrogate Mother, Dead Med, The Perfect Son and Do You Remember. All of Freida McFadden's books are on Kindle Unlimited and I know that she gets a bit of backlash and some people love her, some people absolutely despise her. I personally really enjoy her books. I think you know exactly what you're getting into when you go into them. A quick, fast-paced, fun read. Is it the most well-written books you've ever read? No, but I'm not reading them for that. I'm reading them for, you know, I'm going into a slump, I want something quick and fast-paced to get me out of a slump, and that is what Freida McFadden does for me. Now, I've really wanted to catch up on her backlist for quite a while because she does release quite a lot of books each year, so that's why I'm going to be aiming to read a good chunk of her backlist in this video. So the first one I'm going to be reading is The Surrogate Mother. Hey guys, so I'm just checking in as I do have some reading updates for this vlog. I'm absolutely terrible at checking in when I'm working during the week, so this is what I've read this week at work. So I have read The Surrogate Mother by Freida McFadden and I'm going to give this one a 3.5 star rating, which I think is a fair rating. So this one we follow 3 characters, Abby and her husband Sam and then her assistant Monica. So Abby is a advertising executive and she's worked very hard to get where she is. I believe her boss is someone, I think her name's Denise, and Denise is very hard on Abby. Abby does look up to her as her mentor and they do have a good relationship up until Abby started trying for a baby. So Abby and her husband Sam, I think they've been married for about 10 years and they are desperate to have a child, and Abby has problems with fertility and they have gone down the IVF route and they are now trying to adopt a child. At the very beginning of this book, Abby is having a baby shower at work because she is going to be adopting a newborn baby with her husband. Sam comes in as she's opening all the presents and needs to speak to Abby, and it turns out the adoptive mother, or the mother of the child that they're adopting, has pulled out at the very last minute. Abby is obviously absolutely distraught, but she goes into work the next day. She doesn't take a personal day or anything like that because Denise would look down on her for doing so. Obviously it's very awkward because she's got all the presents in her office and things, and this is where Monica comes in. So Monica is Abby's assistant and basically Abby is training Monica up to sort of be like her one day. Her previous assistant was called Gertie, but Gertie had an accident where she fell down the stairs and she broke her hip and she no longer works for Abby. So Monica is like her saviour at this point because Monica looks after all her emails, she sets meetings up for her, she, you know, gets the PowerPoints ready, all that kind of thing. And Abby and Monica are talking and Monica basically offers to be Abby's surrogate. So Abby's eggs are unusable, so what it would be is that it would be Monica's eggs with her husband Sam's sperm. Obviously it's Sam's biological child, so Abby would then adopt the child and they go through a vetting process. So Sam is really hesitant to go through with this because he just doesn't think it's a good idea to go through it with someone that you know, and they don't really know Monica all that well. Monica's only been working for Abby for about 6 months. So Sam decides to vet Monica and then, you know, they bring her mother and they speak to old roommates and things like that. They do a medical check and things like that, and then it's all good and they decide to go ahead with it, and Monica gets pregnant after the first, I don't know, insemination. Then we go from there. Abby is very paranoid from the get-go, like she's very untrusting, and I think that I don't really understand why she went ahead with this because from the very beginning there were red flags about Monica. So obviously as the pregnancy develops, so there's Abby and Monica go to an appointment and then Monica goes to the next appointment with Sam and she tells Abby the wrong time and then she tells the nurse that Sam is her husband and things like that. So it seems like Monica is trying to steal Sam from Abby and there's all sorts going on, and I have to say, like, there was a twist at the end that I didn't see coming, but it's very obvious from the title who the bad person is in this book, and I do think it was a fun ride. It was very twisty in some places, like certain things happened that I wasn't quite expecting, and it just goes to show the lengths that one of the characters will go to. I'm not going to say who because I don't want to spoil anything, but they will go to extreme lengths to get what they want and what they feel is rightfully owed, and how they gaslight everyone around them and how people believe them. And at the very beginning, Abby, the prologue, Abby is arrested for murder. So someone's died all because of this surrogate mother issue. And you don't know who is dead at the very beginning of the book. And obviously we then go back to the start of Abby losing the adoption and then up to the events and then past that and how it's all resolved. So I do think, like I said, it's very twisty in parts, and it was a bit, not silly, but it was a fun ride, and it wasn't the best thriller I've ever read, hence why I'm giving it a 3.5 star rating. But I do think it was fun and really quick to read, and I think you know what you're getting into with a thriller like this. It's kind of obvious what's going to happen in some places. There were a few twists that I didn't see come in. As ever, Freida McFadden's writing style is really easy to read, and you're just clicking along the pages. I read it on my Kindle, just clicking along the pages, and then suddenly you've read the whole book. Like, it really didn't take me long to read at all, and it was like fun. People say that this is like her best thriller. I don't really agree. I like to see a twist that I'm not seeing come in. That's my kind of thriller. I don't really, like, I did enjoy this, but we knew who the baddie was, and there was only like a little twist of how they went about this sort of thing. I'm trying not to give anything away. But yeah, this was fun and it was quick, and I'm glad I read it because, again, it's another book off of Freida McFadden's backlist that I've read. But I would say it's definitely not one of her best. It's definitely better than the next one that I read, which I will get onto in a minute. I really liked all the different characters as well. I think it was quite realistic how some of them acted. Denise, her boss, she doesn't have a child, and she really pushes Abby away because all Abby seems to focus on, even at work, is having a child. And I think it sort of becomes almost all of Abby's personality. And as Denise is someone who doesn't want a child, who doesn't have children, I think she finds this a bit like she can't relate to it, so she just kind of pushes Abby away because this is all Abby can focus on. Like, even at work, Abby is like talking about things like that, and it's just some places, obviously, like when you're in the break room chatting with your friend, like that's fine, but when it's like you're in your office, you know, business meeting, and like that's all she's talking about, it's just like it's really not appropriate. And yeah, I can see why like Denise acted the way she did. And yeah, I think as well, like if you're a bit more clued up, you might have seen one of the twists come in, because I kind of got it nearer to when it was revealed, but at the very beginning I didn't really see it, so that was a bit of a surprise. But yeah, it was just fun. 3.5 star rating, pretty average. But yeah, if you're interested in reading Freida McFadden's backlist, definitely give it a go. It's definitely not one of her worst, definitely not her best, but certainly not her worst. So I then read Dead Med by Freida McFadden, and this one, 2 stars. I think that's generous, actually. I really did not enjoy this one. So this follows a anatomy school or a college, and we follow some anatomy students and their professor. And this school is nicknamed Dead Med because there is a massive drug problem, and for the past few years there have been several students that have overdosed on drugs because they can't cope with the workload. So we follow 5 student perspectives, and then we also follow the anatomy professor and the therapist. 6 of these 7 people have perspectives in this book, so it got very confusing and also quite repetitive. I'll get to that in a second. So we follow Heather, Abe, Sasha, Mason, Rachel, and then the professor, Dr. Colon as an anatomy professor. Okay, so Heather is the first perspective that we follow, and she starts this school. She's really struggling with studying and things like that, and immediately she is thinking, maybe I should take some drugs, She's in a long distance relationship at the very beginning, but then she quickly falls for her classmate Abe, who, when she breaks up with her boyfriend, she goes to Abe and Mason's dorm with the intentions of sleeping with Mason, then ends up hooking up with Abe. And then go into Abe's perspective. So Heather finds something at the very end of her perspective, then we immediately flip to Abe's perspective. Now Abe is obviously, he has a thing for Heather, and he's quite obsessive about getting with Heather, even though she has a boyfriend at the start. And then he works at a health clinic outside of the university hospital place, and it turns out that this clinic is the place where the students are getting the drugs, and he kind of gets wrapped up in something that kind of makes him have to stay working here even though he doesn't want to, because he doesn't know what he thinks is a normal clinic at first, and then everyone comes in because they've got a cough, but no one's actually coughing. And yeah, so then we have Abe, that's Abe's perspective, and then we go to Rachel's perspective. Rachel has a history of seducing her professors for better grades, and the previous one that she did this to in her previous school had actually rang the anatomy professor ahead of time and warned him about Rachel. So Rachel like thinks that she can just get through life by seducing her way to the top, and very quickly Dr. Colon like shuts her down. But I'm not gonna say what happens, but he shuts her down and then things happen. So there's a whole situation there. And then we follow Mason's perspective, who is Abe's roommate. Now he is a very rich, privileged man who has very high expectations from his father, who is a surgeon, and he is like top of the class, and people think like, you know, is he on something? And then we kind of see him unravel under the pressure and whatnot. And then we follow Sasha, who is Mason's like friends with benefits kind of situation. So they're all in the anatomy class. Sasha starts hooking up with Mason, but she works out that Mason is the top of the class, and she's very competitive. She wants to be the top of the class, so she feels like she has to take down Mason in order to get to the top of the class. And then we follow Dr. Colon, who is the professor. So we see a bit of his relationship with each of these students, and then just like the overarching plot of how we come to end how we end, basically. So the very beginning of the book, in the prologue, there is a girl in the anatomy lab, and then there's shots fired, and we basically follow these different perspectives and find out who did it, why they did it, what's going on. Now, it was so repetitive. So I thought that we would be following just like one or two of the students. So I thought we'd maybe go from like Heather to Abe, back to Heather, maybe to another student. Heather had about 90 pages, and I think some of them had a little bit less than that, but it was very, very repetitive, because you're basically seeing like Heather and Abe's relationship from Heather's perspective, and then the same thing from Abe's perspective, and then the same thing from like Mason's perspective. And then it was just very, so each of the perspectives starts out with the line. So Dr. Colon says to the students, look to your left and look to your right, both of these people will become doctors. And when you by the time you've got to like the 5th student, I'm just like, if I hear that line one more time, I'm gonna scream. And it was just so repetitive. Like, this could have been really condensed down to, it just didn't need to be as long as it was, because it was just so repetitive, and that was the issue with it. By the time we got to the reveal of who was the person going around with the gun killing people, I just didn't care. I just really didn't care. And when it was revealed, I was kind of like, this is really underwhelming, and I'm just kind of like beyond caring. I was just bored, and I just think this was just really not a very good one. Like, the atmosphere, like, it's set in an anatomy school, so they're like dissecting corpses and things like that, and then there was a lot of side plots that just really didn't get looked into. So at one point, Mason is really obsessed with the corpse that they are dissecting, because he's got a tattoo on his arm that says like to serve and protect or something, so he believes that he's a police officer. He asks Dr. Colon how this man died, because with the other corpses it's quite obvious, there's like with the heart problems you can tell and things like that, but they can't work out how this man died. Dr. Colon won't tell them, because that's kind of what they have to work out, is how he died. And then Mason just like really gets really fired up and worked up about this, and you just sort of like, it's really not that big of a like secret. Like, he really gets so worked up about it, and I just don't really understand why. Like, I understand why you're interested, but it's just the things that Mason did just really didn't make any sense. As well, like Sasha, her perspective, like she wants to beat Mason and be the top of the class, and the lengths that she goes to is just crazy. And just like all of them were just insane. Like Rachel, I don't really understand Rachel's point of like trying to sleep with her professors to get ahead, because as Dr. Colon says to her, like, you're going to get the grades and stuff, but when it comes down to actually like treating patients, you're not going to have a clue what you're doing. So like, what is the end game here really for you? And then yeah, it was just a really odd book, and so much was happening but nothing was happening at the same time, because it was just the same events repeated and repeated and repeated. By the time we got to sort of where the prologue was, I was just kind of like, what? Like, this is just so silly. And like, it was a really quick read. I'll give it, like, any Freida McFadden book is such a quick read. The writing style is so easy to like digest and things, but it was just like, this was really bad. Like, this is the first Freida McFadden book that I've really actively disliked. There's been a couple that I've rated like a 3-star. Even maybe a 2 stars generous for this one. I just think this was just really not good. And I mean, I'm glad I read it, because again, it's another book off of Freida McFadden's backlist, but it's just definitely not worth it. Like, it's really, really not worth it. And I was sort of finished it, and I was like, a lot of people have said to me, like a couple of people in my real life have said to me, like, this one's really good. And then I was like reading the Goodreads reviews, and I was like, I think you're in the minority here, guys. Like, no one seems to like this book. Like, it's just really, really not good. And I don't know, you go into a thriller, and I understand not everything can be really twisty and things like that, but you expect the ending to be worth it. You expect the payoff to be worth it, and the ending to be satisfying, and this was really unsatisfying. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest with you. So that's Dead Med. I know she rewrote it. It was originally Suicide Med, and then she rewrote it and changed a few things and renamed it Dead Med. So I'm not interested in reading the original version of this either. This was just really not good. And then there was a whole storyline with the therapist as well. Sorry, I completely forgot about this. So Patrice, the therapist, she is like in every perspective. So because they have such a massive drug problem on campus, they want a therapist on hand for the students to go and speak to, and every student has to have a session with her, and then after that it's up to them if they want to go back. And she, like, there was a whole thing with the drugs storyline. Like I said, like a lot of side plots were like just abandoned and weren't resolved, and I feel like this was kind of one of them. You kind of very quickly find out who is involved in the drugs plotline, who is sending the students to this clinic basically, and I think it's kind of obvious who it is. Then just like nothing really comes of it, and it was just so unsatisfying, and it was just, yeah, there was just too much that was not resolved and things like that I just really didn't enjoy it. And it was just, like I said, so repetitive. I'm repeating myself now. It was very repetitive, so much unresolved, and it was just really underwhelming. So yeah, that is Dead Med. I gave it a 2-star, but maybe it's more of like a 1-star. I don't know. I feel like that's a bit mean. Like, it was at the beginning, it was a bit enjoyable, and I think by the time we got to like the third perspective, I was just kind of like, look to your left, look to your right, every one of these people is going to be a doctor. Stop saying that, I don't care. So yeah, that's Dead Med. So I read The Surrogate Mother and Dead Med, so I'm going to be moving on to the next one for this vlog. Hey guys, so I'm just checking back in. I have now read the next 2 books for this reading vlog, so I owe you a reading update. So first of all, I have read The Perfect Son by Freida McFadden. I think I'm going to give this one like a 3.5-star rating. I've definitely enjoyed the next 2 books a lot more than the previous 2 books, I think, or maybe Surrogate Mother and like The Perfect Son are kind of on the same page. So in The Perfect Son, we follow our main character Erica Cass, who is a mother of 2 children, and she has a husband called Jason. So the 2 children are called Liam and Hannah, and all throughout sort of Liam's life there's been some sort of incident of some kind. I think like in kindergarten when he was like, I don't know the American like schooling system, but when he was about 4 years old, he like duct taped a girl into a cupboard, and he says quite a lot of disturbing things over the years, and she's had him like with a psychiatrist and things like that, and basically they've identified him as like a sociopath or like a psychopath, and you know, things happen with students at the school and things like that. So the mother tries to protect him in any way possible. Now her husband Jason thinks that she's being a bit overbearing, and none of these incidents are really anything to worry about, and Hannah is just sort of kind of there in the background. So at the beginning of this book, Liam sort of expresses interest in a girl in his class called Olivia. So there are 2 Olivias in his year group, one called Olivia Mercer and one called Olivia Reynolds, I think, and one of them is in his maths class with him, and one of them is on the debate team with him. His family go and watch him on the debate team, and Mrs. Cass, or Erica, realises that he has a bit of a thing for this Olivia. Now she actually has the wrong Olivia. He has a thing for the Olivia in his maths class, and what she's done over the years is any girl that he's like interested in, she'll contact this like private investigator and basically get him to get the girl to like leave Liam alone so that nothing happens really for the girl's safety. And obviously this time she has the wrong Olivia, and the detective gets the wrong Olivia to like back off, and then the next day we wake up in the morning and Olivia Reynolds has gone missing, and people highly suspect Liam because Liam and her went on a date the night before and he was seen in her backyard kissing her, and we kind of then go from there. So obviously everyone suspects Liam, and it's about like the police investigation. We also get some POVs from Olivia. She is being held hostage. Obviously the setup is that Liam did it. So this one was like a really good read up until the end, and I thought the twist was just a little bit silly. I was kind of expecting, so the way that it was set up, I was expecting obviously it not to be Liam because that's kind of really too obvious, and then I was kind of sort of thinking, is she trying to throw us off? And then when it was revealed who it was, I was just kind of like, it was so, I can see what people mean now when they say that sometimes Freida McFadden's like twists just don't make any sense, and I feel like this just really didn't make any sense in my opinion, and it would have made more sense to me if it was another character. Now I may be in the minority here, I haven't seen too many reviews of this book, so I would love to hear your guys' opinion if you've read this one yourself. Please let me know what you think. But yeah, I thought it was a bit all over the place really, and I feel like as well this one did kind of wrap up quite quickly, like, and it's the same with the next book as well. Do you remember they both wrapped up pretty quickly, and I wish we could have kind of sat with the ending for a little bit longer. And then it also kind of annoys me that like these people, so obviously there's a bit of a showdown at the end, and I'm not going to see what happens, but one of the characters does something to another character, and there's like no repercussions from it, and I just don't think it's like really very realistic. Now I know it's a thriller book, I know it's not supposed to be like realistic, and yes, you do have to suspend your disbelief for some other things, but I just kind of thought this was like, it was really good setup, and I think the first 60% were really strong, and I was really intrigued as to like what was going on and who was doing this thing to Olivia and how the whole family came into play with this whole thing, because there's a lot of focus on the family. I think if it went a different way it would have been better, and I can't really say what way it should have gone in my opinion because I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, it was just a bit not my favourite Freida McFadden. Like and I said, the first bit was really strong, which is why I think it's got like a 3.5 rating. I think that's like a fair rating for this one. I did enjoy it and I would recommend it, but yeah, the ending was just a bit out of left field. I think it was just a bit, yes, not my favourite Freida McFadden. And then next up I did read Do You Remember by Freida McFadden, and I definitely enjoyed this one a little bit more. This was definitely a bit different to her other thrillers, I think. So in this one we follow our main character Tess, and basically it's over like a 5-day period that we follow Tess, and she wakes up in the very first chapter on the very first day. She has absolutely no recollection of where she is and what is going on in her life. She went to bed the night before, she was engaged to this guy called Harry, she was 29 years old, and they just bought this house together and they had all these plans to do it up. When she wakes up, there's a completely different man in her bed. The house has been completely renovated, and then it turns out she's like lost the 7 years of her life, so she's actually like 36 now. She reads this letter that she's written to herself, and it turns out that she was in an accident and she has like memory loss, and every day she forgets what's happened the day before. So her husband is called Graham, and he is her caretaker, her guardian, and he also runs her company. So prior to her having this memory loss, she founded this like spa shop sort of thing, and it was like luxury spa products within the comfort of your own home, and the company is massively taken off, so they're pretty loaded, and she has nothing to do with the business anymore because of her problems, and Graham has control over everything locks from the inside. There's no locks in the bathroom, she's not allowed to cook anything, she has a phone, and the only numbers in it are her dad's number and a woman called Lucy who is her best friend, and then a woman called Claudia. And then we meet Claudia, and it turns out Claudia is basically a glorified babysitter because Tess is not to be trusted to be left on her own. They do shopping together, they take the dog for a walk in the park, and then the next day she wakes up and she can't remember anything. Now she wakes up and on her leg, she's written on her leg, it just says find, and then she starts getting texts from a number, and it turns out it's her ex-fiance, and then we kind of go from there and unravel the story as we go. Now some of the things in this were pretty obvious what was going on with somehow the characters set up and just some of the clues that were dropped along the way. However, I gave this one a 4-star rating because I did think the kind of twist at the end, I wasn't really expecting that, and it was really, fun is the wrong word when it's a story about memory loss and an accident and things like that. You kind of see who the main bad guy is very early on, and it's kind of obvious. Some of the things that they do and the people that portray them are kind of unsurprising, and like how these people then turn their backs on this person to protect Tess and do what's best for her in the end is what's good. And it's kind of sad to read actually when you think she's lost 7 years of her life, she can't remember anything, and every single day everyone has to remind her of what's going on. And when you're reading it, because obviously you can remember the whole book, so when we get to like day 3 or day 4 and you hear like some of the things that the characters say to her, and you're just sort of like, oh, you get so angry on her behalf, which I guess is kind of the point of the novel. But I did enjoy this one actually. Like I said, 4-star rating, so I think, is that the highest rated of this vlog? I think maybe I gave The Surrogate Mother 3.5, The Perfect Son 3.5, Dead Med 2, and this one 4, so pretty a good range of ratings, I think. And that just goes to show how I feel like with Freida McFadden you either really love the book or you really don't like it, but there's quite a few lately that I've just been kind of mid. And I think as I'm reading more and more thrillers, I can see what people say why Freida McFadden is a very like popcorn thriller author. Like you get a very quick, a very fun, engaging read. It's very surface level, there's not really too much going on deeper down. I do think some of her newer stuff is better, but like I said, I'm working through her backlist now. So yeah, I did enjoy Do You Remember. It's definitely my favourite out of the lot. I think, to be honest with you, maybe I was a bit harsh with The Surrogate Mother. If I gave it a 3.4, I think I should actually give it a 4, because I think I enjoyed these two and The Perfect Son the same amount. Dead Med was just not really very good. That's the reviews for these two books. There's not really all that much to say really, because I did actually quite enjoy them both. So that is the end of this vlog then. So I have caught up on 4 more Freida McFadden books. I have, at the time of this video going up, I've only got 5 left of hers. I know that in January she's got another one publishing. I got another video like this planned where I read more Freida McFadden books, so hopefully then by like early next year I will completely have caught up on her backlist, and then it'll just be as and when the new ones come out. She has a lot to read though, and they're all on, apart from one, they're all on Kindle Unlimited, which is really fun. So if you're thinking of checking her out, I definitely give her a go, because if you've got Kindle Unlimited, it's like basically free. So that is going to be the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it if you've made it this far. Comment down below if you've read any of these books, or if you've read any Freida McFadden books, and tell me what you think. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.